You are now tuned in to the News You Can Use podcast. I'm your host with the most big surf god. And today, we are doing reactions, man. Today, we will be reacting to the orchestrated hit of Mac Dre, man. It's a lot of new information coming out about Mac Dre. We'll start off with this one. Mac Dre's shocking unsolved murder secrets behind the hyphy icon's rise. This was dropped 2 days ago. If you aren't familiar with Mac Dre was the king of the hyphy movement, the thizzle dance, made a lot of things popular in the Bay Area. Y'all gotta check him out. If you never heard the music, some of the most dopest music I ever heard out of the Bay. You know what I'm saying? Some people look at him as one of the greatest to ever do it. Crest side represent. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, y'all check out Mac Dre. If you never heard of Mac Dre, man, he's a legendary rapper from the '90s, part of the Rumper Room gang. Check him out, man. Shout out J Diggs, shout out Thizzler, shout out everybody that was a part of the movement, and that's still pushing right now. But we about to get into this reaction. I'm over here rolling up, y'all, while I talk. We have to get into this reaction. Let's go.
This is the story of Mac Dre.
Oakland, California, man. Welcome to the bank.
Man, many people, and they all want to get paid.
Mac Dre was a Bay Area legend who helped put the hyphy movement on the map.
I'm the skinny with the fat jack, make his backpack, black, go for the crack sack, I'm on that with this ass, we fast, I'm gonna tap that, map that, I'm replacing one more time.
But before he could achieve the widespread recognition he deserved, he was tragically murdered. The case is still unsolved today. We're breaking down the details of his rise to fame, his tragic death, and the wild aftermath.
Well, Mac Dre went out like a martyr, you know what I mean? He was like, he's the guy. So you got Too Short and E40. Everybody's gonna say, man, they the ones that set it off. And then you got Mac Dre and Keek the Sneak. And they came along and they just, took all the youngsters and just whipped them in a frenzy and the hyphy movement.
Yeah.
And when Mac Dre got killed, it was like Martin Luther King in the Bay.
It was the early morning of November 1st, 2004. Bay Area rapper Mac Dre was in Kansas City, Missouri. He had been booked for shows and events over the Halloween weekend.
Man, every weekend it's a sideshow somewhere. Every time every club, every event, somebody gonna start a sideshow. They gonna close the freeway down at the entrance, and start the sideshow on the freeway.
The whole trip was weird. A nigga already handed me a gun when I get there. And I'm like, oh, Cuddy, this how we rocking? Yeah, like we moving through Kansas City like that. Me and Doobie on some other shit. Like, man, Kansas City changed. Let me know what kind of party we at so I know how to dress. Right. We not leaving. We gotta come with the body, so we here.
Around 2:30 a.m., Mac Dre was traveling northbound on Highway 71 in a white van, being driven back to his hotel. Suddenly, a dark sedan pulled up alongside the driver's side of the van. Shots began to rain down. Upwards of 30 bullets were fired from two separate guns, an automatic rifle and a .45 pistol. The sedan also rammed the van, running it off the road, causing it to crash into a ditch. The driver managed to crawl from the wreckage and ran to the hotel for help. But by the time help arrived, Mac Dre was already gone. He was found motionless and pronounced dead on the scene from a bullet wound to the back of the neck. The black vehicle used in the homicide was found later with shell casings matching those at the scene. Holes from inside the door indicated the shooter fired from inside the vehicle. White paint along the passenger side of the door confirmed it had collided with the white van in the attack. The car had been stolen from a garage in Belton, Missouri, a few months prior. Mac Dre's passing shocked the entire world and shook the Bay Area. To them, he was a legend gone far too soon. Everyone wanted to know who was responsible. Almost immediately, one name began circulating all over the Bay Area: Fat Tone. Anthony Watkins, also known as Fat Tone, was a Kansas City rapper who had collaborated with Mac Dre and even linked up with him the weekend he was killed.
His name was one of the first names that came up. He was at the show. Fat Tone is a gangster from the city. And then Fat Tone, when they was saying his name, like they said, he didn't dispel the rumors.
Rumors spread that Fat Tone and Mac Dre had gotten into an argument over stage time. The allegations of his involvement escalated.
To think that somebody had killed somebody over some stage time is crazy.
with a rumor that Fat Tone released a song dissing Mac Dre and hinting at being responsible.
I mean, they go to this right here. Every young nigga I know done got knocked off in Kansas City. So many murderers, nigga. I name it Killer City. Where the shit go down. I mean, all my niggas is gone. This is where I'm from. I'm from the city of dope. The city of killers. Max, pimps, hustlers, and dealers.
Police received dozens of tips about a possible altercation and investigated Fat Tone. However, Kansas City police would go ahead and investigate him, but found zero evidence or suspicion that Fat Tone was involved in any way. Fat Tone denied the rumors and even came out and said that he and Mac Dre were friends, and there was no issue between them at all. Despite this, the Bay Area was not buying it.
You know what I'm saying? Nigga got a damn near dog in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Nigga rapping the soil at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Trying to put it down. See, I'm a straight street nigga. I come from the gutter. You know what I'm saying? So all my shit be straight real. I mean, everything I'm saying is real from the soil, from the roots up. You know what I'm saying? No fake ass shit. Niggas is really doing this shit up here. All this shit crack, nigga. 24/7. Drive-bys, gang banging shit, all this shit, nigga. It's the soil. Killer City, nigga. I'm repping the death. Nigga, I'm still in the hood, nigga. That's the hood I am. You know what I'm saying? Nigga in the hood and the bitch. You know what I'm talking about? It's real. Selling houses. You know, set them up, dumping them, nigga. We got enemies in, enemies, fire CD. All that shit, just like you said, we squashing the funk, though. Me and my niggas are squashing the funk. It ain't no playing, it ain't none of that. It's real. It's real life, nigga. It ain't no just rapping, nigga. We been through this shit. Nigga curve serving and doing it big. Back when my nigga Boom was down there hustling 24/7 in the gym, parking, you know what I'm saying? All through that motherfucker. It's real, cuz.
This is dope. This is a gang of unseen footage for sure.
Cuz we repping the soil, nigga. KC, nigga.
But if it wasn't Fat Tone, who killed Mac Dre? And what led a Vallejo kid known for his catchy rhymes to meet such a violent end hundreds of miles from home?
I had never been to Kansas City a day in my life. The day Dre died was my first time going there. I pulled up. My homeboys, Mac Maul and them was all still there. Mac Maul, Keek, and everybody was still there. Yuck Mouth still there. Miami the Mo's, Doobie, they was all still there. So I had to go there and start getting information. Like, what happened? Where was y'all at? Where was so-and-so? What was this? Who threw the show? I had to get all, I found out everything the next day. And then I ended up staying out there and start making friends out there and start becoming a part of a fixture in Kansas City, trying to figure out what would happen to my friend in Kansas City. You feel me? And at the same time, I had to remember that Kansas City didn't do this to Dre. Certain individuals done this to Dre.
To understand what happened that night, we need to go back to the beginning. Andre Lewis Hicks was born in Oakland in 1970. Early in his childhood, his family moved about 30 minutes north to Vallejo, California. He spent his childhood years in the Country Club Crest neighborhood in North Vallejo. Visually speaking, this area looked like any middle-class suburb, and crime statistics didn't necessarily classify it as a significantly bad area. However, a combination of poverty and lack of resources added a certain level of street activity to the neighborhood. Mac Dre always had two main interests, music, and he was known to have a cold mouthpiece, from which his nickname, Mac Dre, originated. He officially began rapping at 14 years old, performing for his classmates at Hogan High School. Interestingly, another student big into music at Hogan High School was Earl Stevens, who would later be known as E40.
How you look at here. It is I, says me. Your Northern California, West Coast, start stopping, screw type prolific, spitting tycoon, talking partner, E motherfucker, 40 OZ.
While E40 and Brant Jones were developing their music career, selling tapes out of their trunk.
When we think of the West Coast, we usually think of the Snoop Dogg's, Dr. Dre, and all of them. Now
it's more than the West than that.
Well, now we know this.
Yeah.
So,
Mac Dre was also building his own buzz in the city.
Where we come from, players flip tight buckets, get tremendous, beat fresh meats, and say, The BAYAREA. We're playing smoke dank and drink all day. We use words like Skrilla, scratch and fetty. Give hoes pimp names like Blowjob Betty. No homies and lokes, just partners and folks. No lifts and switches, just dips and yokes. We swang them and stang them and burn rubber sideways. Zap on the lap when we hit the highways on Friday. Hey, we got to take over, man, because we got.
Mac Dre connected with Michael the Mac Robinson, an early pioneer who became his mentor and inspired him to adopt his rap persona, Mac Dre. The Mac came from the idea of a player, and Dre from his first name, Andre. Just shy of 18, in 1989, Mac Dre recorded and released a cassette tape called Young Black Brother. He quickly gained local attention with his song Too He quickly gained local attention with his song
I forgot I'm on mute, but look, man, y'all would never know about the Thiz, man, if it wasn't for Mac Dre. Mac Dre, man, was like a real trendsetter at this time. And for him to put out his first album in 1989 is crazy. If he would have lived to make the test of time, Dre would have been a pioneer in this shit for sure. Because the way he took over the Bay was crazy, man. Shout out to the Bay.
He quickly gained local attention with his song Too Hard for the Radio.
They call me Mac Dre and I'm keeping the name.
The song caught fire in the streets, became a big song in the Bay Area, and established him as an underground sensation. He would say, "You don't understand, my people know who I am." While Mac Dre was rising in music, the friends he made in the Crest became known as the Romper Room Crew or Gang. This was a tight-knit group where friends were considered more than just friends. They were like relatives.
Who does the Romper Room consist of?
Way back, well, how it started is we was young on the block, you know what I'm saying? Used to play it out, smoke weed with you. And the older cats used to call us the Romper Room. The young niggas playing a lot with you. And the name just stuck. You know what I'm saying? And then shit started happening, bank robberies and shit, and the police really stuck the name to us, and it became the Romper Room Gang, you feel me?
The hustle of the streets offered an appealing lifestyle, with the group hanging out, allegedly selling dope, hustling, drinking, and partying. The Romper Room Gang was known for knocking off pizza parlors, often at gunpoint.
So what happened is people started robbing everything, like dumb stuff. Like I didn't rob dumb stuff. Like my homie even used to tell me, like, what you gonna rob less than a bank?
And eventually graduated to robbing banks.
Because now everybody is trying to get a piece of the cake of the robbery. And we robbing a certain style, a certain way. But now everybody know this certain style and certain way. It's like a serial killer who might stab you, leave a cross, and know where to cut you at the right place. And I show you how to do that too. So now you got 30 serial killers doing the same thing. Whoever get caught first, getting charged with all of that.
It's been debated whether the money used to finance their rap careers was entirely legal, with sources suggesting they were using the robberies for this purpose. Mac Dre's association with the Romper Room and his references to them in his songs, combined with his growing fame, led law enforcement to suspect him.
Romper Room Crew for life, yeah.
Police beefed up surveillance in the Crest, coming down hard on crew members, and took a special interest in Dre.
Now they watching everybody who's supposed to be in the romp, but they thinking that everybody in the Crest, the neighborhood, is the romp. No, it's only 14 of us. Them robberies yesterday, you saying we did, we wasn't even out here. Somebody else, a copycat robbery. You feel me? But we getting the heat for it.
The Vallejo Police Department teamed up with the FBI, forming the Vallejo Violent Suppression Task Force, which dedicated significant resources to pursuing Romper Room members.
So, you feel me? Now we hot. So now that even if you watch the episode American Gangster, the police even tell you. But I was telling my homies back then, like, nigga, they own us, nigga. Like, I'm in the store one time and two officers come in, plain clothes. You feel me? And say, hey, Coolio, how's your day going? Police, nigga.
In March 1992, while Mac Dre's reputation was spreading beyond the Bay Area, He traveled to Fresno with his friends and Romper Room members Jay Diggs and Kilo Kurt. They had a show there, and McDre also wanted to see a woman he had met. Unbeknownst to them, the FBI was already tracking the Romper Room gang. A fourth man with them on the trip was a car thief named Corey Dunn. Corey Dunn had been flipped by the FBI and was wearing a wire during the trip, while McDre was allegedly at a motel with his.
You gotta watch out for niggas named Corey, man. No, I'm just fucking around.
At a motel with his friend, Jay Diggs and Kilo Kurt were planning a bank robbery. The police intended to catch them in the act, but the local media heard about the planned operation over the police scanner and showed up prematurely at the bank, tipping off Kilo Kurt and Jay Diggs. The robbery was aborted. On their way back to Vallejo, McDre, Jay Diggs, and Kilo Kurt were pulled over and surrounded by officers.
So there's a lot of information you already know. I don't know if they're gonna get to the nitty gritty, but let's just go all the way through it because we got another one we're gonna watch.
From both the Vallejo
You know what a
Police
lot of
Department
y'all
and the
probably
FBI.
don't know. Let me read the comments real quick. Shout out to Sunshine. Sunshine, what's going on with you? Okay, let's start off. Continue to rest in peace, Mac Dre. Yes. Shout out, Sunshine. It's the yay for sure. Yeah, can you? Yeah, I hear you. I see you, baby. Thank you. No sound. Nobody does it like the Bay. Facts. I'm from LA, and going to the Bay was like being in a whole totally different world, and I loved it. You know, I fuck with it. I go out there frequently. So shout out to the Bay. Shout out to Mac Dre. Shout out to everybody watching this. Make sure to like and subscribe to this video. They supposed to have some shocking new news. I don't know if this is clickbait, but let's go on and finish watching it because I've seen a couple different videos on the same thing. So I'm thinking that, you know, it's going to be some legit information somewhere. Let's go.
From both the Vallejo Police Department and the FBI. Mac Dre, who claimed he was completely innocent and was in the motel room the entire time, was arrested with them. Because he refused to snitch on his homies, he ended up getting charged with conspiracy to commit bank robbery. Despite believing he was innocent, he refused to take a plea deal and took the case to trial. During the trial, authorities used everything they had against him, including his controversial song lyrics, twisting them to suggest he intended to rob more banks.
Why is the police steady knocking at my door 24/7? The devils be tripping. They say some banks was robbed and I fit the description, but that's drama. So save it for your mom.
For example, they reportedly used lyrics like, "I'ma laugh in your face, kick back and feel the bass," to argue he meant kick back and feel the banks. He was found guilty by a jury and sentenced to 5 years in Lompoc Federal Penitentiary. Jay Diggs and Kilo Kurt received longer sentences, 10 years, for being the alleged masterminds. Some fans felt Mac was unfairly targeted because he was a popular rapper who spoke out against police brutality. Years later, in 2010, Corey Dunn, the informant, was found deceased with multiple bullet wounds. It's unclear if his death was related to snitching, but it certainly could have put a target on his back. Jay Diggs would later label Dunn a rat. Prison changed Mac Dre, giving him a new perspective. When he got out, he didn't just go back to rapping. He created a whole new sound, a whole movement. But would this new wave of success also bring unexpected dangers? Those years behind bars, they changed Mac Dre, giving him a new perspective on life. When he was released in 1996, after serving 4 years of his sentence, he immediately dove back into music. He reportedly hit the studio the very day he got out and finished a new album within weeks. He didn't just go back to rapping, he switched up his style. His delivery became more upbeat, almost like dance music. He also brought a new energy to his performances, introducing wild dance moves.
Thizzle dance, I said.
Nigga brought that thizzle to the table and boy, it went crazy.
This new sound and style were foundational to what would later explode as the hyphy movement in the Bay
Hey,
Area.
the hyphy movement, man. I got to see it, you know, side shows before this new takeover shit. Man, it was a time. And to go to the Bay Area and that doesn't happen anymore, man, it's like a culture shock. Like, what happened? Like, I probably left like 2012, and I mean, Thiz was on top of the world. I came back like 2017, and none of that shit was going on anymore. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, the whole culture changed. So So that's crazy, man. I mean, it's still in certain places, I'm sure, but like, you feel me? I mean, all the way to Sacramento, everybody was turned up. You feel me? Fresno, everywhere, like. So it's crazy to see up north, Northern California, not to be having a big influence and impact on music. Now, the music that they make out there is like this music and shit. And that's crazy. Like, that's the most popular thing. When y'all had music that was like, you feel me? Was way bigger than that shit. For sure.
This new sound and style were foundational to what would later explode as the hyphy movement in the Bay Area.
I'm out here, y'all know what I mean? My boy, Young Drew right here, you feel me? Y'all know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? This is the way I'm out here.
Nigga, that shit came with a whole lingo. I'm telling you. It was like this in 2012 that I came back in 2017 and it was like a totally different place. Then after the pandemic, it was just like, damn.
Mac Dre embraced his independence, founding his own record label, initially called Romp Records, later renamed Thiz Entertainment. He was incredibly productive, releasing numerous albums and working on others' projects, sharing his vision to help talented artists. He wasn't just focusing on the local scene, this was a business for him now, and he understood the value of live shows to build fans in new markets. One market that particularly embraced Mac Dre was Kansas City, Missouri. Word spread about his fan base there, and he started booking shows and connecting with local artists. He first traveled there in 1999 and found the reception incredible, feeling treated presidential, and even hearing he was considered bigger than artists like P. Diddy there. He started going back more and more, building relationships, to the point where Kansas City became almost like his second home. By 2004, Mac Dre was a Bay Area hip-hop pioneer, an underground icon, and had cultivated a loyal fan base far from home, especially in Kansas City. This connection would lead him back to the city in late October 2004, but this time, the trip to his second home would end not with roaring crowds and dizzle dances, but with violence on a dark highway. He arrived in Kansas City ready for the weekend. It was Halloween weekend 2004, and Mac Dre was booked for a few shows at the Kansas City National Guard Armory. He was set to perform alongside other Bay Area artists like Yuckmouth and Keek the Sneak. The promoter, Damon Whitmill, had agreed to pay Mac Dre around $12,500 for two events. Mac Dre and his entourage arrived in the city.
25 days, right?
Arrived in the city on October 27th. He was scheduled for promotional appearances, including a radio show and a record signing at a local bookstore. According to the promoter, Damon, Mac Dre showed up with a large crew, over 20 people, and was often late for his obligations, which caused issues and disappointment. The first big show was on Friday, October 29th. The promoter claimed Mac Dre was late again, resulting in extra costs to keep the venue open longer. The situation reportedly got worse when Mac Dre's large entourage, over 20 people, rushed the stage, causing fans to follow suit. This crowd surge led to the music being cut off multiple times for security reasons until the show was eventually shut down. Other artists like Keek the Sneak and Yuckmouth felt a negative vibe and tension at the show. They decided to leave Kansas City after performing and arranging for their payment to be wired later. Despite this, Mac Dre stayed to fulfill his commitments for the weekend. Regardless of the details of the argument, Mac Dre left the venue in a white van to return to his hotel. According to one source, who picked up Mac Dre earlier, Mac Dre mentioned not feeling safe due to the disorganization of the events. Around 2:30 a.m. on the early morning of November 1st, 2004, the white van was traveling northbound on Highway 71. Suddenly, a dark sedan pulled up alongside the driver's side. Upwards of 30 shots were fired from two different guns, an automatic rifle and a .45 caliber pistol. The sedan also rammed the driver's side of the van, causing it to lose control and crash into a ditch. The driver of the van managed to crawl from the wreckage and ran to a nearby hotel to call for help. By the time police and first responders arrived at the scene, it was around 3:30 a.m., an hour after the incident. Mac Dre was found motionless. It was immediately immediately obvious that he did not die from the crash. He was pronounced dead at the scene from a bullet wound to the back of his neck. Mac Dre's death sent shockwaves through the Bay Area and the hip-hop community. Everyone was desperate to know who was responsible. With their legend gone, the Bay Area wanted answers. The investigation would uncover suspects, informants, and theories, but would justice ever truly be served? Almost immediately, rumors began circulating, pointing fingers at Kansas City rapper Anthony Fat Tone Watkins. While police did investigate Fat Tone due to these rumors, they found zero evidence tying him to Mac Dre's murder. Fat Tone himself denied any involvement. Tragically, just a few months later, Fat Tone was murdered in Las Vegas.
Some on the street are wondering, is it revenge for the murder of a West Coast rapper here? Good evening, everyone. That murder last fall in Kansas City is still unsolved.
Now, a Kansas City rapper named Fat Tone is killed in Las Vegas. Peggy Bright is live at Kansas City Police Headquarters with the story. Peggy?
Kelly, police here knew him as Anthony Watkins, but in the world of hip-hop, he was known as Fat Tone, a 24-year-old rapper who, for sometimes reasons that he did not want, made a name for himself both locally and nationally.
R.I.P. Fat Tone.
But after the murder of Mac Dre, Fat Tone's name began circulating in hip-hop magazines and websites as a possible suspect. Kansas City police followed the sites, but never considered Watkins more than a person of interest. Now Fat Tone is murdered while visiting Vegas. The two murders, months apart, have similarities.
Mac Dre was found in a car, shot to death. The car wrecked, went off the highway, and essentially the same thing happened to Fat Tone.
Activist Alonzo Washington wrote commentaries for hip-hop magazines after Dre's murder. He was concerned that the rumors would generate more violence, and now it has.
When you have an equation of violent music, people with a violent background, and rumors, it can ultimately add up to a real-life homicide, and that's something that we all should try to prevent.
Now, Fat Tone was shot in Kansas City a year and a half ago when he was leaving an interview at a local radio station. He survived that. Las Vegas police are still looking into the motive for this shooting. Another man was killed as well. We're live at police headquarters. Back to you.
Andre McMinister Dow and Jason Mathis were later convicted of his murder. The motive was believed by some to be retaliation for Mac Dre's death, fueled by the persistent rumors, even though Mac Dre's own friends stated Fat Tone was innocent.
Murder. He actually called me when he was still in Las Vegas on his way out. He was gathering some stuff so that he can go. He called me and told me that he had to leave. He couldn't talk, he had to leave. And I'm like, where do you have to go? And he's like, I'm coming out to the Bay Area. I'm gonna get me an apartment and stuff out there, and I need to leave out here real fast. And I'm like, well, what's going on, Jason? And by the way that he was talking, I can tell that it was something that he had done. So I'm like, he asked me, can he come to my house? And he wanted to spend time with his son. Can he come to my house and try to get more acquainted with little Jake, seeing that he was in some trouble out in Las Vegas? And I told him no, because I didn't know what was going on. And then we had spoke a little, a longer, probably like an hour and 2 hours in code. He was trying to tell me what was going on and what he had done, but he wasn't trying to get into details of what had exactly happened.
Tell me how he was talking to you in code. What was he saying?
Okay, he was like, yeah, it was a concert out here tonight, and you heard what happened to them niggas that did that to Mac Dre. I'm like, who are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, we can't speak on what happened. I mean, who they are or whatever. We can't speak on their names. Their names or whatever. We can talk more in person when I get to the Bay Area.
Dow was convicted in 2008 for a double murder in Las Vegas in 2005. The victims, Kansas City rappers Anthony Watkins, known as Fat Tone, and Jermaine Atkins, known as Cowboy.
I don't know who killed Fat Tone.
How did they end up murdered in your girlfriend's car?
I don't have no interest in it.
I just want to make a record. He testified against my client in trial. I know.
As attorney Robert DeMarco argues for Dow's freedom, the 8 News Now investigators have been following closely. One major development, this witness who testified against Dow now says he lied.
It's been under conscience and you deeply regret making the false testimony and statements against Mr. Dow, correct? Correct. Mr. Lateef Gray, please.
A former San Francisco prosecutor who knew Dow growing up heard him proclaiming his innocence on a podcast and decided to look into the case. Do you believe he's 100% innocent?
I do. Based on this evidence, I do.
Lateef Gray says he uncovered information about witness Antoine Mouton, a convicted pimp with a lengthy criminal history. Records show when he claims he was in Las Vegas and Dow made incriminating statements to him, he was actually in custody in Georgia.
So you believe that the police and the prosecutors had all of this information and hid it? Or what are you saying?
They definitely had it.
Sometime prior to that December 5th. Clark County Chief Deputy District Attorney Mark DiGiacomo mentioned a date during Dow's murder trial in reference to that supposed conversation between Dow and Mouton in Las Vegas. But again, Mouton was locked up in Georgia. DiGiacomo now on the stand himself admitting to what he calls a mistake.
You said December 5th in the deposition, correct?
And I should have said December 05. Still, he continues to defend the murder conviction.
I have the phone records and the 911 calls establishing the timeline.
In 2004, Bay Area rapper Mac Dre was killed in Kansas City. There were rumors, which police said were false, that Fat Tone did it. Dow claims he didn't think so. In 2005, he invited Fat Tone to Las Vegas to meet Snoop Dogg. Dow is seen leaving a casino with Fat Tone and Cowboy. He claims they went their separate ways.
I don't know where they went, but he said he has some business to handle.
The bodies of Fat Tone and Cowboy found near a construction site. A car, which prosecutors argue was connected to the scene, found torched in California 2 days later. Police also pointed to Dow's link to his co-defendant, Jason Mathis, and a woman who was found murdered in California later that year before Dow was in custody.
You cannot point to any specific evidence that points to Mr. Dow committing the murder of Ms. Larson in California, correct?
Well, I think that if I were to try him in this courtroom, I'd convict him every day of the week.
Dow was on America's Most Wanted and then arrested.
If he didn't pull the trigger, he's just as guilty as the person that did pull the trigger.
Lamont Williams, also known as Marlo Boss, is Fat Tone's cousin.
He's most definitely behind it. So, yes, most definitely. I said it 1,000 times. I said it in his face 1,000 times.
After hearing from both sides,
This is totally a travesty of justice.
Meanwhile, the official investigation into Mac Dre's murder continued, identifying potential suspects like the promoter Damon Whitmill and a man known as identified as Calbert. Damon reportedly refused to provide a DNA sample. Informants linked Damon to ordering the hit and Calbert to being one of the shooters. The stolen black Infiniti, believed to be the getaway car, was found with evidence like bullet holes and white paint matching the van. Calbert was identified as driving this car and years later was also murdered in a similar manner.
What I miss, y'all? Jump in the comments and tell me what I miss.
Despite these leads and informant testimonies, no one was ever formally charged or convicted for the murder of Mac Dre. While the question of who killed him remained unanswered, Mac Dre's music and legacy would only continue to grow, solidifying his status as a true pioneer of the Bay Area sound.
R.I.P. Mac Dre, man, one of the greatest, man. One of my favorite Bay Area rappers for sure. Definitely in my top 5 Bay Area rappers. Number 1. Music that lasts the test of time from 2004 is 20 years later, damn near. This ain't what I see something else. All right, here we go.
In the early hours of November 1st, 2004, Kansas City detective Everett Babcock arrived at the scene of a murder after Halloween, and a man was found shot to death nearby, having been thrown from the vehicle upon impact from the crash. According to Detective Babcock, reporting from the scene, the victim was lying on his back with his left leg out straight and his right leg bent at the knee. He added the victim's left arm was slightly across his body, and his right arm was out straight. The right side of the victim's neck was up against a small tree. The white van, a vehicle often associated with the drug trafficking organization led by Savino Davila, was rumored to be owned by him. This connection raised his man was Andre Hicks, known to the world as Mac Dre, one of the most influential hip-hop artists in history. His unique style and lyrical prowess not only influenced the Bay Area hip-hop scene, but also left a lasting impact on the entire genre. Mac Dre, a Bay Area legend, who had just begun stepping into the spotlight, has gone tragically and mysteriously. Mac Dre wasn't just a rapper, he was a movement. He was the voice of the streets, and sadly, his voice was silenced forever. What happened that fateful night? Who wanted him dead? And why, even after his death? Questions still revolve around his death, fueling a relentless quest for answers. These are the final hours of Mac Dre, the Bay Area legend.
In 2004, Bay Area rapper Mac Dre was killed in Kansas City.
Pulled up alongside his van, fired, and sped off.
Andre Lewis Hicks, known to the world as Mac Dre, was born on July 5th, 1970.
The craziest part, he ain't had no security or nobody in the van with him, just the driver.
70 of Vallejo. Vallejo, located in the San Francisco Bay Area, is a city with cultural diversity, but was also seen to be a place of economic challenges and social struggles during Hicks's formative years. The environment Andre grew up in would significantly shape the man, the artist, and the icon he became. Andre was raised by his mother, Wanda Salvato, at 17.
Yeah, Dre when you were 17.
Nothing was said about Dre's father, but according to her, she separated from him at 16 because they were both too young to cater to each other. If what she really said were true, her statement was valid because she was a child having a child, and she had to work tirelessly for over 40 years in a bank just to provide for her family. She also added that it was this job that really shaped her to be accountable and responsible.
I went to work right away because I knew I had a son, I had to raise him, and I knew how I wanted him to be raised. I don't know why, but I knew where I was going. But I ended up working for a bank for 40 years. And that training right there helped me, guided me, raised me to, again, be accountable and be responsible.
Andre attended local schools in Vallejo, including Hogan High School. As a student, he was intelligent and charismatic, but often found himself distracted by the allure of the streets. He had a natural gift for storytelling, which made him a favorite among his peers. These traits and his love for music hinted at his potential as an artist even in his early years. As a child, he was exposed to music through his mother's love for soul, funk, and R&B. However, it wasn't until his teenage years that he discovered his passion for hip-hop. In her words, she said, the thing about Andre as a child was that he was always very, very outgoing and outspoken. He had a mind of his own early on and followed his own direction. His mother tried to get him involved in sports, but Andre took more interest in talking to other kids than playing games with him. It wasn't until the family moved to the country club Crest neighborhood, known more as Crestside or the Crest, that a transformation began in Andre. Breakdancing in the garage with his friends was just the beginning. In junior high, his interest in music, keyboards, and microphones led him to a new path where he started rapping and writing lyrics. By the time Hicks was a teenager, rap music had become a coast-to-coast phenomenon, with Andre hanging out with one of Vallejo's early pioneers, Michael the Mac Robinson, who was known for his groundbreaking album, The Game is Thick, in 1988. Andre saw Michael the Mac Robinson as an inspiration, making him adopt the nickname Mac Dre, formerly MC Dre. Dre started making waves, and in 1989, he became famous in the larger Bay Area with his single, Too Hard for the Radio, while still a student at Vallejo's Hogan High School. Despite the song's title, it went viral, making it a hit song on local radio. After dropping his first 3 albums between 1989 and 1991, Dre's career began to go worldwide, giving him the recognition he deserved. However, before he could take things to the next level, he got caught up in charges that reduced his recognition, putting him on hold for some years. During these periods, Dre was hanging out with a local group of teens who called themselves the Romper Room Crew, named after the TV show about the crew's youth. The group compromises 14 teens between the ages of 14 and 21. They started.
Let's see what on Instagram, man. They tuned in or what? I didn't even hit the go live button. We're gonna replay that for them. Forgot to hit the go live button on the YouTube.
Started hanging out, selling dope, hustling, drinking, and partying every Friday and Saturday night. However, just as Dre's music career took off, the Romper Room Crew's criminal activities increased as well. They progressed from selling drugs and other low-level crimes to robbing pizza parlors and then banks.
And then you moved to robbing pizza parlors.
Yeah, that was, well, it just wasn't just moved to rob a pizza parlors. It's, my crew, like any other crew, somebody in the crew gonna come up with an idea, and I have to say no name.
You, because you had written the song Punk Police?
Yeah, they hated it. I had everybody singing the song Punk Police, so they was steady harassing me, jacking me.
Was in the vehicle with him with a wire on him while Diggs, Dre, and Curtis discussed the robbery operation. The news would go viral on August 24th, 2010, which took an unexpected turn. Instead of the expected success in the music industry, Dre's music and fame were reaching as far as exotic islands like Hawaii, getting recognition from fans. In 2004, Mac Dre was ready to talk of the town in the Bay and respected nationwide. Unlike most other Bay Area rappers, he had a large fan base in Kansas City, Missouri. On Friday, October 29th, 2004, Dre and several other Bay Area rappers performed a show in Kansas City, Kansas. While this was going on, some speculated that associates of Dre had an argument with Thug Fat Tone, which Keek the Sneak would later tell Vlad TV it was he and Mac Dre who had an altercation.
Me and Mac Mall had gotten into an altercation, what I'm talking about, that night, you know what I mean?
While most of Dre's Bay Area rap associates left Kansas City the next day, Dre stayed because he had booked a walkthrough at a club for the following night, October 31st, Halloween. Once Dre finished the Halloween night walkthrough, he and Thiz artist Major Dub E. Norton got into a white van and left the scene. According to authorities, just minutes later, at around 3:30 a.m., while Dre's van was heading northbound on US 71 highway, the stolen Infiniti G36 pulled alongside the driver's side of the van and let off 30 bullets from two separate guns, an automatic rifle and a .45 pistol into the van. Despite the shots being fired through the driver's side, the driver escaped without getting injured, ran down the highway to a store, and called 911 for help. When the medical team arrived, Dre was found dead, reportedly from a gunshot wound to the neck. Mac Dre's fans, friends, and the Bay Area rap world were devastated to hear that the hip-hop mogul in the Bay was shot to death. They wanted answers as to who did this. After several investigations, the first suspect was the promoter, Whitmill, whom Dre had an altercation with before his death. When questioned, Whitmill would reveal that he and Mac Dre both agreed on the sum of $12,500, where Mac Dre would receive $6,000 up front. And by October 27, 2004, Mac Dre and other Bay Area artists arrived in Kansas City and were greeted by his homie named Savino Davila, who drove them in his car. However, it was from here that things began taking a turn for the worst, setting events in motion, resulting in Mac Dre's murder. Reports state, according to Whitmill, Mac Dre was trying to play smart in his dealings, which made Dre arrive late and leave early. Whitmill later told police that Dre didn't show up on time for the show until after 30 minutes, which resulted in him having to rent the venue for an extra time to accommodate. While Dre was performing with DJ Fresh, working as the sound man, fans would crowd the stage and the DJ would be forced to turn down the song multiple times because of the crowd. According to DJ Fresh, he told Dre about it so he could use his influence to tell his fans to get off the stage so that they would listen. Mac Dre responded, "That's not my job." This was where fans felt Mac Dre made a mistake to have not stayed back to perform because Keek the Sneak, along with Yuckmouth, felt a negative presence at the show. And according to them, there was tension and the turnout was horrible, so they left without receiving the other end of their payment. They told the promoter to wire them the funds and got out of Kansas City.
It was two shows. I made it to one show, but me and my wife was going to Hawaii the next day, and I couldn't make it to the show that Mac Dre died. The same band that picked me up, took me to the airport, brought me to the show and all that was the van that Dre died. You know what I mean? I felt like it was a lot of friction. You know what I'm talking about?
The vibe when I was out there, I felt it when we was at the show. You know what I mean? It was some type of tension I didn't even know of, but it was some tension backstage. I'm like, yeah, I don't even want to be around here. Period. So I left. A couple other people left. We all left.
Mac Dre stayed while they left. The promoter tried to use this as an opportunity to recover lost funds by allegedly booking Mac Dre to perform at a Halloween party on Sunday, the 31st, 2004, to close off the weekend. According to Jay Diggs, Mac Dre scheduled to be there, but ended up getting into an argument yet again with the promoter.
Now, did they actually do the show?
Yeah, the show. They did the show.
They did the show, and then I guess there was an after party.
Yeah, it was an after party.
Some sort of altercation happened.
Yeah, something happened.
Something happened.
Well, you know, I'm gonna say, this is speculation. Something happened at the after party,
right?
But it wasn't nothing of. It was more of an argument with Dre and the promoter,
right?
Because the promoter wanted Dre to stay. Dre, like, I did my job. Let me get my money. Let's leave. So they.
However, despite everything that happened between Dre and the promoter, Mac Dre showed up and did his part. But when it was time to leave, the promoter refused to pay the remaining sum owed as he wanted Mac Dre to stay longer. Then the promoter would cook up stories telling the police that Mac Dre again showed up late, and instead of trying to live up to his expectations, he allegedly left after 30 minutes without even performing. However, before the event, Dre had called Davila, saying he didn't feel safe because the show was disorganized, and adding that he wanted to leave. At this point, this was where Dre and the promoter argued, and he left in his van. Sadly, he got caught up by a group of men throwing shots at him, which ended up hitting him on his neck. However, Dre's crew was determined to look for the killer, and luckily, it didn't take long for the streets to start talking, saying it was a notorious Kansas City gangster who was behind the murder of Mac Dre. Rumors began circulating that Fat Tone and Mac Dre had an argument that week before Dre was murdered. While there wasn't enough evidence to prove that he was the hitman, an allegation of his involvement would go viral, stating that Fat Tone...
Man, this is the same thing, man. Here we go. Yeah, man, I don't know. I said, you know, clickbait, man. Y'all gotta stop with this clickbait. That's all I'm gonna say. Y'all got to quit with the clickbait. All right, let's see what I'm gonna get into. You know, I got something good for y'all to just tune in to watch for a couple hours. I mean, come on. What's this?
Here, my baby.
Because number one, people like 21 Savage apparently gave him money for.
What is these about? What are we doing? Try to go tune into the News You Can Use podcast, man, and check those out. I'm gonna end this one and start something fresh.